everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tara, the lead Nexus provider with Telemedica. I'm having just a bit of a technical difficulty here for 1 second for some reason. There we go. I wasn't able to see myself on there. Apologize about that. I'm technologically really not great, which some of you already might know that if you've had some documents completed from us. But we have a great support team that helps me work through things. So let's get started today. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Nexus letters. I know we've touched upon this before. There's some new people around, and also still we get a lot of questions about this. So there are a few things I want to go over about this. So today I want to talk a little bit about like what are Nexus letters and some of the compositions of the Nexus letter, who can write them, and what sets us apart at Telemedica from other companies, as well as touching a little bit upon what you can expect with the experience with Telemedica. So getting started right away, right into what are Nexus letters. So briefly, Nexus is just a medical connection for a condition to your service, whether that's direct or secondary to another service-connected condition. And so Nexus letters are documents that support your claim. Generally, you wouldn't submit a Nexus document that doesn't support your claim, but technically in a medical opinion can be positive or negative. So are Nexus letters really, we get this all the time, are they necessary? No. Nexus documents are not necessary to file your claim with the VA. All you simply have to do to file a claim with the VA, if you think a condition is connected to service or you're not sure and like to get it evaluated, is submit your medical evidence to the VA for service connection, and they will set you up with a C&P exam, a comp and pen exam, and have a VA-appointed examiner evaluate for that condition and provide their medical opinion to the VA rater, who will determine if it is indeed service-connected. Now, Nexus letters come into play with that, where you provide a positive opinion to the VA, similar to where the C&P examiner provides their opinion to the VA. You submitting your own really gets the case going. It's really one of those things that if you're not sure if you have enough support evidence in the documentation, or you'd like a little extra or have it outlined clearly for the VA to evaluate, that's where Nexus letters can come into play to help you out with that. So composition of a Nexus letter. My opinion of what a nicely written Nexus letter involves discussion of your case, discussion of what your case is, the situation revolving your service and your condition, followed by medical supporting evidence. So my Nexus opinion is a positive opinion in your case. I want that backed up by medical evidence or literature in the medical community, not just my own opinion from my experience. Yes, my experience as a medical provider does carry weight when it comes to giving a medical opinion. However, we like to show that we're not just giving these medical opinions just because someone asked us for it. We actually have this rooted in medicine and medical theory, and we like to show the VA that, especially with secondary conditions, because a lot of times those conditions are not actually described in the medical community or, really involved in the medical care when you see your doctor on a regular basis. So we really want to make sure that we are showing the VA why this medical opinion is important and why it is applicable in your case. So went into a little bit of that. So a little bit of touching into the benefits of that Nexus letter for your claim. If you're submitting your medical evidence showing that you've been to the doctor, say, for example, for migraine headaches, and you think it's service connected, that could be helpful. However, in order to show the dots for how that migraine condition is related to your secondary service connected condition of something else, sometimes you need a little bit more medical support than just saying, hey, I have headaches and I think this is a trigger. That is very important to have that medical documentation, but sometimes connecting the dots with a Nexus letter can be beneficial, especially if the VA C&P examiner does not agree. For one reason or another, if the VA C&P examiner provides a negative opinion to the rater, your rater is looking at that evidence and sees your medical evidence, but sees the opinion of a medical professional, and they're going to weigh that pretty heavily. So if you come in with a Nexus letter on the front end of your case, supporting your claim, supporting what you're filing, and the C&P examiner provides a negative one, this gives the VA rater extra evidence to look at. It gives them a medical professional who is opinionating that you have a positive connection and possibly one that's a negative connection to make that decision. They don't always side with the VA contracted C&P examiners. I can tell you that from fact because I've gotten several clients who have sent to me their award letters, so shocked and surprised that they went in for a C&P exam and the rater evaluated our evidence as more supportive for your claim than the C&P examiner's negative opinion, and the claim got awarded. So without our Nexus letter, that client likely would have gotten a denial. So it's not as always cut and dry like that, but this is definitely shows that these can be beneficial. So who can write Nexus letters? Any medical professional, your doctor, your treating doctor can write a Nexus letter. Anybody who has medical credentials to do so. Now, the caveat is be careful who you're asking for a Nexus letter for, because say, for instance, your mental health provider can write you a Nexus letter, but they need to stay in their lane. They need to stay in the mental health field. They cannot write you a medical Nexus letter for your orthopedic hip pain secondary to your back pain, because that's really outside of their scope of practice. So what you really want is someone who's within the scope of practice. Now, that doesn't mean you need to see specialists. General practitioners, like most medical providers, are trained in all aspects of medicine, can write those Nexus letters. So just be careful that you're not asking for something like that. Now, physical therapists cannot really write Nexus letters. They can provide additional support for your claim, but they are not practicing providers in that sense. Chiropractors can, nurse practitioners, PAs, physicians, all of those can write Nexus documents and have it weighted the same as a C&P examiner. That's what I'm going for. You can submit evidence from other specialists, acupuncturists and whatnot, but if you're looking at a one-to-one head-to-head with C&P examiner, that's where you need more of a medical professional to write that. Now, some other things that go along with these Nexus letters that I've been noticing along on internet sites and on all these chat rooms and group chats, there's a lot of negativity out there, and it can be very confusing for a veteran who really doesn't have any experience in this field, or any experience in having a claim submitted with the VA if this is your first claim. So it can be very, very tough to figure out what the right path is, because there's a lot of chatter online, and when you try to do your research, try to do your due diligence, there's really a lot of mixed messages. And I'm a part of a lot of these chat groups, a lot, not because I really want to solicit them for anything for us, but I look to see what's trending, what's going on. And sometimes I try to correct things that are inaccurate. There's a lot of people who are very, very strongly opinionated. They're getting outside medical opinions, outside Nexus letters, and paying for these documents is something of a waste of your money, and that it's a scam, it's a sham, we're just out to get you. And that is just not the case. There are many, many organizations who actually do this. And yes, I'm sure there may be some who are not doing it under the best circumstances or above the board in some way. But here at Telemedica, we perform thorough examinations and thorough chart reviews, and we only provide documents if the medical literature supports it. We only provide documents if there is evidence to support your case. We will not just write you a Nexus letter because you're paying us to. You don't pay us for that document until we can write the document. If we cannot write the document, we tell you clearly why we can't write the document and what the rationale would be as to why we don't see the connection for your claim. We have that integrity, that honesty, a hardworking group of people who actually care about you as a veteran and care about your case and care about you getting what you deserve in order to help your situation. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with just any other factor, but our team of medical providers care, and we don't get paid anything on the side for looking at your records. We do your chart review. We don't get anything as medical providers. That is nothing that our compensation, I know that it's not very popular to talk about things like this on Facebook, but I'm a very honest and open person. Our compensation is based off of when we write a document. That doesn't mean that that we're going to write you a document all the time. If we're telling you no, we're doing a lot of work on the back end trying to take a look at your case honestly, and we're not getting anything for that because we invest in you. That is how our medical team functions. And so we have a group of people who are very passionate about veterans, who are veterans. Some of them are service-connected veterans like you. And so we have empowered that team to really try to help veterans. And I know there's a lot of mixed communication, and yes, you can do this on your own. There's a ton of free resources out there, and I implore you to use all of those resources to your advantage in order to get your claim and support your claim the best that you can. We're not here to trick you. We're not here to hide anything. We are honest group of people who really care about our veterans. And so if you can get things accomplished on your own, there are times that I tell you this. Some of these new presumptives for Gulf War syndrome that just came out, when it comes to the asthma, the respiratory things, if you fall into that criteria of presumptive, we don't write you a Nexus letter because you don't need it. You have all the evidence that's strong and supports it. Usually when we write you a Nexus letter for those presumptives, it's because you fall just outside the edge of that inclusive criteria, and you want to make sure that you give that case the best shot. So a lot of times we're writing those Nexus letters because that might support the case. But if you've got a slam dunk presumptive case, we're not writing you a Nexus letter. That is just not necessary to charge you money for something that you don't need. There may be other things that you might need our services for, and that's great. We're here to help, but we're not here to, like I said, do something that you don't need. So this is where our values come into play here at Telemedica. And so I know I'm on my little soapbox about that, but it really is disheartening when I see other veterans discouraging veterans on these chat groups online to not seek out professional help when it comes to your VA claims because they think everybody's a crook, and that's just not true. I'm very happy that some of these people have been able to get their claims approved very easily, that they've gotten good supportive doctors at the VA, that they've had great CMP exams, that they've had good raters who believe in veterans in their case, who've had all of these good things go for them. But there's a lot of you out there who really just haven't had that case. That has not been the case for me. That has not been the case for a lot of people I know. That has not been the case for a lot of veterans that I talk to. And so I really feel like a lot of the negativity that's out there is misdirected, and it's unfortunate because it's confusing. And so I'm here today to talk a little bit about what sets Telemedica apart from that and why I feel like this is a worthwhile service if it fits your needs. If it doesn't fit your needs, then that's perfectly fine. I hope that you get everything connected and supported. Sometimes you need us, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's a mix of both. Sometimes some claims you can do on your own, and sometimes you need a little extra help because you've received a denial for something. So there's a lot of reasons why people use services like ours, and we're real upfront and honest about when we evaluate your case. If you come to us looking for an evaluation for something, we're very upfront and honest about our evaluations. I can't say that enough. So one thing I want to talk about with our providers, that we have a wide scope of experience. Like I was saying just before, some of them are veterans, so they understand what you're talking about. Some of them are service connected, so they've gone through this process themselves. Some of them are just very supportive of veterans and really, really top of their field and want to be involved and help. We have people who are a wide variety of experience as far as medicine goes. From orthopedics to cardiovascular disease, all the way through ENT conditions, general medicine conditions. We've got a lot of providers with a robust amount of experience who actually just can speak from experience, not just from doing a literature search for some of these things. We also want to make sure that you understand that we are supporting your claim. We stand behind you. We stand behind your claims from the beginning to the end. So if you get a denial, we are more than happy to review those denials and see if there's been an error. If they have not considered the case correctly, sometimes we recommend something called a higher level review. And a lot of you are familiar with that, but some may not be. So when you submit a claim, and if it gets denied, you have options. You can accept it as the truth, and that's the result of your claim. You can contest it with a supplemental claim. You can contest it with a higher level review, or you can go to a VA Board of Appeals. So supplemental review means you want to add more evidence. So if there wasn't enough evidence, you forgot something, there was additional services that you were seen for, and you want to refile the claim, a supplemental claim is where you're at. If you don't have any new evidence and you think that they may have considered the claim incorrectly or not exactly the way something was wrong with the process, then a higher level review will get you in touch with a senior rater. They contact you. So it's a great opportunity to talk to the decision maker, to talk to someone who checks that box. And that's why I think higher level reviews are extremely helpful in VA claims, because if you get the opportunity to explain to the decision maker, this claim was denied, and for instance, if it was secondary to a service-connected condition and it was only reported in the denial letter that it was direct to service, they weren't considering the claim properly. And that might be an error that once they hear that and look at the evidence that we've all submitted for it and so you've submitted for it, they may see, oh, this is actually something related, and they may overturn that decision. So you don't lose any time, you don't lose any back pay for when you filed your intent to file. It's something that can be very helpful. If you've gone through a higher level review and you've gotten denied, or if there's a reason that we would write an additional document for a supplemental claim, which is a rare thing to happen without a higher level review, we do those for free. We do response documents, rebuttal documents for free for our claims that we've written. So if I wrote you a letter and you got denied and you went to a higher level review and you got denied, we take a look at that. We want to see what the reason is. If the reason is you need more evidence, I tell you, hey, they're telling you need more evidence, that you might need a few more visits with your doctor. They're asking for objective medical evidence from 1982. Do you have this? Do you have anything to show this? If they're just not considering the claim, hey, they didn't consider it correctly, or they didn't, they held the C&P examiner's opinion higher than ours, but the rationale didn't make sense from the C&P examiner from a medical standpoint, that's where a response document is warranted, to where I can explain, hey, the C&P examiner had this rationale, for instance, sleep apnea. And he reported all of these risk factors for sleep apnea, and the reason he didn't think that it was connected. However, all of those risk factors do not apply to you in your case. If they don't apply to you and they've written that as their reason, then that's not really a true opinion, and that needs to be reconsidered. And so that's what we like to do here at Telemedica, is to make sure that when we support your claim, that it actually gets submitted, considered correctly before we say, okay, we tried. So sometimes a rebuttal document is important, and I've had cases go and get overturned frequently from those rebuttal documents. And so that's one way that we show you that we are here in it for you, that we are here to support you. We believe in your claim. We believe in you. We have values that uphold our honesty and our integrity, and the quality of our documents, that we take care of you. So this is something that I think sets us apart from other companies out there that do a one-time document for you, because I just don't think VA claims are like that. I don't think VA claims are as easy, cut and dry, that things are considered correctly. I don't think the process works as it is intended to work, because you're not talking to the rater, you're talking to C&P examiner, and they're talking to the rater. It's really just disconnected, in my opinion. And so this way we are able to help you on a grander level. So that's my opinion, and that's why I'm here with Telemedica. That's why I'm here doing what I do with this company, because I believe in everything that we do, and everybody that we have is a great team. And although, nothing is 100% perfect. You may get hiccups, but we really try to make sure we have a customer service team that's here to help 24 hours a day. You should be able to see, get help on our website. You can get help from just calling in or reaching out to us. We have multiple ways to reach everybody. And I know the entire team works really hard to try to do this. And one thing we do get some complaints about is sometimes it can take a little bit of time. And that's something that I think that I'd like to just hope that there's some patience with that, because we aren't pencil whipping documents. We aren't just popping them out just because. We actually take care and consider your claim. And so in doing so, sometimes it takes some time. Sometimes it does take a little bit. And if we're not considering things, sometimes there's a back and forth. So this is a human to human process. This is not a computer generated process. This is not something that is done on an assembly line. So we really do take care to try to provide you the best documents that you can. So that's sort of what I wanted to really go over when it comes to Nexus Letters and what Telemedica means and what we're here for, and why our Nexus Letters, I think, are more than just medical evidence. I think it is something that we put our heart and souls into. It's something that we care about and something that we really try to give you the support that you need for your claim. So it is something that I think sets us apart from the competition. And our providers just understand the unique needs of some of our veterans, because a lot of our cases aren't easy. If it's easy, then you can go file it and get service connected, and you don't need our help. And that's great. But there are some cases that are more difficult. And those types of cases are really where we shine. That's where we succeed. That's where we really provide the most help. And that's where some of that negativity that's out there really doesn't consider or understand online, is that there are people who really do need additional services, because your doctor may not know the lingo of the VA. They may not understand or put in the time to make and craft a very robust document. That's what we do full time. So it's something that, yes, your doctor can write for you, but if they're writing 2 or 3 sentences, it may not be as supportive as an outside professional letter. And that's okay. And that might be something that you try at first, but honestly, it's up to you, and it's really your comfort level and with who you're choosing to write your documents. It's also your comfort level with what evidence you're submitting with the VA. And there's no wrong answer here, and there's no wrong time. So considering us after a denial, that's just fine too. We're here for lots of different types of cases and all different types of people and all different types of conditions. So it's really a unique experience. So I'd really I really like working with our veterans. I really think our team is very good at what we do. And I know that I'm a little bit biased because I work there, but it is something that I think it shows up in the evidence. Talk to your buddies, talk to your friends online. You'll see that our letters are working. And even looking through the comments that I'm getting from our post here, I see some from Jake Luna who want a sleep apnea supplemental because of a Telemedica Nexus letter. You're welcome. See, this is something that you might have won on your own, and I really hope everyone does. Try to. We don't want to waste your time, money, or energy. I always say that to people, but sometimes you need us. Sometimes it's not as clear. The water's muddy, and that's what we're here for. I got another question from: can a doctor PT provide a Nexus letter? So a physical therapist generally cannot. They can provide a Nexus letter, but they're not at the same level. They're not comparing apples to apples when it comes to a C&P examiner. So yes, it could be enough in your case, depending on what your situation is, because every situation is different. So yes, it's a possibility that the evidence that they're providing may be what the VA is looking for to support your claim. Sometimes it's not. And the physical therapists, even if they're at a doctorate level, they're not prescribing medications. They're not diagnosing people. That's the key. They're not part of the diagnosis process. They're not trained in that sense. They've got a little bit of different training. So depending on the situation, they may have the evidence, they may not have the evidence, but it's not apples to apples when it comes to like what the C&P examiner is providing the VA. Let's see. I've got, one of my clients awaiting decision after the C&P exam and thanking me for a letter. You're welcome. I try. I really do. And I believe that the cardiac and lung condition that I did that letter for, it can be tricky. It can be very tricky when you're dealing with some of these very specialized conditions and trying to explain it to someone. The C&P examiner may not be a cardiac specialist. The rater is likely not medical and a specialist. So it could be something that really is out of their wheelhouse, and having a professional write a document in a concise way could be the difference in that. So fingers crossed, let me know what happens. Let's see, I've got another one. Turned down for 2007 for service related. Same time Social Security put them at disabled, not able to work. Let's see. 3 or more service. Let's see, with the decision letter from Social Security help my case? Okay, sorry, I was reading that. So basically the question is, would other supportive evidence outside of a medical evaluation and exam, such as Social Security disability, help your claim? Yes. Evidence is evidence. It doesn't have to be you going into your doctor's office and seeing your doctor. I have asked people for all kinds of things when it comes to evidence. Anything that proves a time, a place, an event happen, anything that proves that something is supporting your case is helpful. So yes, Social Security disability is helpful. I've even said, dig up receipts. If you got receipts that you bought knee braces in 1984 and it actually says knee brace on there, that's evidence. That's evidence that you had a knee condition, even if you didn't see a doctor. I mean, think very, very outside of the box. Anything outside of your word. Yes, of course, your lay statement is helpful, and I'm very, very supportive of lay statements. I think your personal statement is impactful for your case, but it's not going to give the objective information that the VA sometimes is looking for. So anything you can dig up as objective, like I said, even if it's a receipt for a knee brace, is going to be helpful. So think outside of the box when it comes for that. Stephanie had asked, what is the average cost for Nexus Letter? That's not something I can answer because I don't deal with any of the finances. I know that there can be specials. It depends on how many documents you're getting. I know they do discount programs for receiving multiple services with Telemedica. So the best person to answer that question in relation to your specific needs would be either going on our website or reaching out to the customer service team. They'd be able to help you. There's the number for that and the email address for that. Customer service will be able to go over and answer your very specific questions when it comes to pricing on that. Kevin Sanders asked, can you request an exam on a DBQ versus an IMO? At this point, we are not writing DBQs. An IMO just stands for an independent medical opinion. So from the Nexus team, our IMOs consist of a Nexus letter, which is a very detailed report about your condition and connection to service, and an evidence form if it's applicable. Our evidence forms are modeled after the DBQs. And so you can submit our evidence form similar to a DBQ, and the VA can rate your condition if they choose to without a C&P exam. So we take the most pertinent information from the DBQ in the rating scheme based off of the 38 CFR, which is the rating criteria from the VA. And we take that important information and put that on our evidence form. We try to make that concise so that the rater can see the most important points when it comes to what they're familiar with a DBQ. So we do try to give them as much evidence in more than one way than we can for that. Let's see. Do we review the entire service medical record or just the documentation provided by the client? Well, we don't have access to the VA system or to the military system, so we review what you provide. So we ask that you upload all of your pertinent information, service treatment records, private medical records, anything that's related to your claim for us to review. So that's something that we don't have access to your service records because we're not officially, we're not VA employees. We are not affiliated with the military to where we have access to those systems uniquely. So it would have to be something that you provided to us. Andrew had asked, can another Veterans Board of Appeals decision be used as a rationale in your Nexus statement? So there's a difference, and he also talks about precedent case law. There's a difference between VA Board of Appeals decisions and precedent case law. So precedent case law is where the VA has evaluated the situation and realized that there is something that could be applicable to more than one person, such as Saunders versus Wilkie, where chronic pain has been shown to be equivalent to a diagnosis. So for instance, if you were diagnosed with chronic knee pain or just knee pain, that is sufficient to be rated by the VA, the same as if someone diagnosed you with a meniscal injury or arthritis, something more specific. So pain in and of itself can be a service-connected disability. And that's what that precedent case, Saunders versus Wilkie, showed. And that is a little bit more applicable to a wider range of people, whereas a VA Board of Appeals decision is specific to a person. We utilize those a lot of times in our Nexus letters to show that it's not uncommon for this situation to happen. We try to tie them up to meeting as close to your case as possible. They're most helpful in rare cases, in my opinion. In my opinion, VA Board of Appeals decisions can be helpful in a case that's not commonly awarded. So a lot of those that are common, that are frequently out there, they may not be as weighted as heavily as a rare condition or some strange connection. those, I think they weigh a lot more heavily because it's not something the VA sees on a regular basis. If the VA sees a connection very commonly, then they're already fairly familiar with those two things maybe having a connection. But if it's something that's really, really off the wall, that's where I really find those VA Board of Appeals decisions the most helpful. When it comes to supporting a document. But we do try to include them because you never know, it could be helpful. And in honesty, if they're saying that in those decisions that for X, Y, and Z reason legally, it's why these two things may be connected, that's why we put them in your document, because it's something that relates not only a medical opinion, but also the VA board looking into this detailed. But I have seen denials come back or award letters come back, both denials and award letters coming back, saying they don't weigh them very heavily because sometimes, they look at it as the VA Board of Appeals is considered for that one particular veteran, and that you cannot say that that one veteran's case is exactly the same as another, which is true, but some factors within that document may be applicable for other veterans. And so, yes, we do try to use those as well. Let's see. I think that's about all of our questions that I've seen. I tried to cover, and just want to kind of recap, tried to cover a little bit about what Nexus Letters are, how they can be applicable, how they can help your case, some negative information, trying to disparage some of the negative information that's out there, trying to really tackle that a little bit to help clear up things, and then also kind of highlight what we care about, what we are about here at Telemedica, what this means to us and our providers. And me being the lead provider, I've trained everyone on the team, and if there's any issue, disagreement, or any concern, they run things by me. Customer service run things by me. Veterans runs things by me. There is definitely sometimes if we weren't considering something where the veteran had a different angle or a thought than what we were initially thinking of, we're open to hearing about that because we're not perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. If there's something that changes the decision or changes the situation, sometimes we do go back and go, you know what? This might be helpful for you. But we also do communicate if things may be a slim chance. If we're like, look, I see the dots, the connections are there, but it's very weak. There's just not a lot there. There's a little bit there, not a lot there. It may still be worth, maybe worth it with, for you. And we kind of work on some of that. So looking at the last kind of questions here, and producing an IMO, do you include case studies in support of the CAIM, especially a secondary CAIM? Or do we supply them? We usually look at case studies. And so a couple of different things that we look at, you mentioned PubMed. There's a lot of different medical resources that we go to. PubMed can be one of them. The Dr. PT, yes, I have, I'm sorry, I did answer that question. Yes, you can submit the evidence from a physical therapist, but they're not a diagnosing doctor. So they don't hold the same weight as apples to apples when it comes to like a C&P examiner. So yeah, we do provide a lot of different evidence back to the evidence. Case studies, we try medical trials. Sometimes we find information from other high sources, such as the CDC or WHO or some higher level institutions that are sort of centers of excellence for different things. For instance, Cleveland Clinic is very well known for their cardiac centers. And so sometimes we use some of their evidence and research. And so sometimes Johns Hopkins is really good for certain things. And so it just depends on who's doing research where, that if they're considered, the top of the field, really cutting edge. So sometimes we're looking into them versus just PubMed in general. Sometimes it just depends. It depends on what we're looking at. Oh, I'm sorry. He asked about the PT. Can they help us do a Nexus? Yes, they can also help us do a Nexus, but they cannot provide a diagnosis. The diagnosis has to come from your doctor. But yes, physical therapy reports do help us because they help us with range of motion. They help us with balance. Things that I really refer a lot or defer a lot on the PTs is that they're really good at documenting. Do you walk with a limp? Because a lot of doctors, I'm not finding it in their medical records, but I'm finding it on the physical therapy report. So yes, physical therapy reports are very, very helpful because they're detail oriented on a very specific thing when it comes to mobility. So I really like those for orthopedic connections, physical therapy reports, because sometimes that was where I get a lot of my information to say, yes, you have this antalgic gait. Yes, you have this limping that supports your secondary claim because the physical therapist is documenting your limitation of range of motion. You're walking with a cane, things like that. Occupational therapy is good for that as well. Some people have been to an occupational therapist that really do daily living, like activities of daily living or ADLs that help us understand your limitations. So yes, that can be very helpful. Sorry, James, I wasn't understanding where you were asking. So hopefully that answered your question. All right, I think I've pretty much, like I said, covered just about most of the common things that we've seen. So next time you have some concerns or questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask them. Get in touch with Telemedica if you have any further questions. Like I said, they do charge an access fee when it comes to reaching it to us. And I've had some questions about, well, that's money that's just gone and I'll get that back. But in reality, our access fee, it gets you in touch with a medical provider who does a thorough review of your case, who answers your questions about your concerns, like when it comes to service connection, who reviews your medical evidence. That's quite a lot of work for a little bit of money to really take a look at your claim. You're not you don't need to purchase a letter from us if you don't want to, but it can help your claim. And if it's not going to help your claim, we'd be more than happy to explain why, so that you at least know the direction of your case. So sometimes you have no idea why your case may or may not be denied. Why are you getting multiple denials for something? You may not understand why that is, and we may be able to help you out with that. And so let's see. I've gotten Gus, who had sent a lot of questions here. Let's see. Can Nexus Letter realistically connect service-related dots for all those years later? Okay, so Gus has had a situation where he's had a large gap in care. So he's had an injury in the 80s, large gap of care, and can a Nexus Letter realistically connect it? It's possible. I've seen connections that are like this that have happened. It's not a slam dunk. That's what I always say. It's not a slam dunk. If you've got a lot of time in between, that an injury can happen. So sometimes that's just one of those things that we can't do a lot about, but it's sometimes worth trying. If that's where you're looking at, this is your evidence. Sometimes it's worth trying. And sometimes a Nexus Letter can really explain how a mechanism such as the one that you received from your injury is not something that's likely to heal. So if you had, for instance, a sprained ankle, you sprained your ankle in 1984 and then nothing for 25 years, that's a completely different case than you had a heavy wire piercing your foot. As in your case, that's a completely different injury. So depending on the type of injury, a gap in care may be a big deal and it may not be a big deal. So that's where looking at all the evidence really does help us in a specific case. So these are individual cases. It's not something I can just bucket them all in one thing. But like I said, the example of having an injury like a sprain, a single time visit for a sprain, is very different than a piercing injury, because that piercing injury can do much more damage to those tissues than a single sprain can do. And it's easier to connect the dots even with a gap of care than it is to something like a sprained ankle, which a lot of them do improve depending on the severity. And then Richard had asked, does the CMP exam take precedence over the Nexus Letter? Not necessarily. I've had clients send me award letters where it clearly said the CMP examiner provided a negative opinion, but my positive opinion made more sense to the rater and they awarded the case. So not exactly. A CMP exam is just that. It is the VA sending you for they pay them for their medical opinion. Our opinion is independent. You pay us for a medical opinion. They are two opinions. They are apples to apples. Now, when sometimes it doesn't, it's not apples to apples. If, say, for instance, the CP examiner is a pulmonologist or a sleep medicine specialist, and you submitted a sleep medicine or sleep apnea claim, my Nexus Letter may not may not carry more weight than a pulmonologist, but there's no way to tell who the C&P examiner is going to be. A lot of times they're generalists, but that doesn't mean that C&P examiner is right in their thinking. Doesn't mean that they're correct. So sometimes, yes, our opinion may trump some specialist, or our opinion may be head to head with another general medicine specialist. It's all about the rationale. It's all about the medical evidence. And honestly, it's not about a doctor or a PA or a nurse practitioner. It's not about a C&P examiner versus an independent examiner. It's about the evidence. That's at the end of the day what it's about. And sometimes, yes, you have to go to a VA Board of Appeals to have all that evidence weighed correctly. And unfortunately, we can't predict who is going to have to go to those. But in all honesty, a medical provider and a medical provider, they're the same. They provide a medical opinion. It's about the opinion. It's about the rationale. It's about what the evidence shows, and that should shine through your Nexus letter. So yes, a C&P examiner can provide a negative opinion, and I can provide a positive opinion. But if my rationale makes more clinical sense, you're going to get that award. And that has been proven before, and I have evidence of that. I have had a client surprised to say that my letter, being a positive letter, did win the case, because I showed the dots very clearly. I showed it how it was connected a lot better than the C&P examiner's negative opinion was. So you can make your decision based off of that. All the research that you do, I recommend that you research anybody who you use for a C&P exam. Do the best that's for you, for your case. We are no pressure. We do not support that kind of an environment, and we want you to have the best supported claim. And if that means you receive services from us, then great. We're here and we're happy to help you. All right, I think that's it for the day. I will see you all again on another live when we talk about other issues, hot topics that come up. So thank you very much for everyone joining us, and I'll see you later.